Welcome, everyone. My name is Leah James. I am the Dairy Marketing Manager for Genex Cooperative. And on behalf of Genex, I really want to welcome you here to the next few minutes of education that we're going to jump into, and also commend you for taking the opportunity to be part of the Dairy Challenge family. Having participated in Dairy Challenge myself, I know that you took the initiative to really progress yourself and challenge yourself to be successful as a student and ultimately within your career. So, hats off to all of you for taking that time and also taking this time to really capitalize on some educational experiences. So with that being said, I am going to jump into some information on the world of genetics. And when you look at it from the Genex perspective, really what we're after as a company is creating ideal commercial cows. And so I really want to walk you through some of the unique things that we have available in the industry in terms of available proprietary indexes and what that means in genetic selection. So let's take a step back and talk briefly about genetics, really in this progressive industry that we are all a part of. And if you look at genetic progress over the last few decades, really over the last 30 years, you will see a big shift in both the needs of our consumers as well as our dairy farmers. And really, when you boil that down to what are producers looking for in the world of genetics today, it really boils down to they're looking to maximize efficient production of a safe and affordable animal protein, and they need to do it with a couple key points in mind. They need to do it feed efficiently with animal health in mind, and of course, fertility needs to be maintained. And all of those things need to kind of coincide together while also increasing production levels to really maximize that potential profitability at the farm level. So, with that in mind, Gen X actually wanted to come up with some solutions for our customers, and we really put ourselves out there as an industry pioneer because we developed a progressive genetic solution and genetic selection tool with those modern dairy operations in mind. And that was the creation of the ICC index, the Ideal Commercial Cow Index. And really, we did this because this is what the progressive and commercial minded operations are looking for. And I want to walk through just really what is in ICC as a proprietary index and what makes it unique, and ultimately why it's so important to select on indexes in general. So here's a quick snapshot of our index. The Ideal Commercial Cow Index is made up of 5 sub-indexes to make up the whole, and you can see the weightings respectively on the pie chart. The biggest weighting comes in production efficiency, and then of course the all-important health, fertility and fitness, and then the final components would be milking ability and calving ability. And likewise, we have the Ideal Commercial Cow Index for our Jersey lineup as well. This hit the industry just a couple of years ago. It was a priority to make this available on our other major product line, being the Jersey product line. And so you can see that the Jersey ICC is actually made up of 3 sub-indexes. We've got the biggest section of the pie in cheese maximizer, and that would be a combination of fat and protein total yield. We've got sustainability, and then finally fertility. So really, what makes ICC unique? You saw that we have it available for both our Holstein and Jersey product line. Well, first and foremost, it is the only available index that specifically selects for commercial cows. Once again, this was a gap that we saw for our customers and members, is they needed a better tool to select the genetics that would excel in that commercial setting. Secondly, it's economic based, with selection focused on profitability and efficiency. Once again, when we developed ICC, we went back to the farm level and said, what are your economic drivers? What are you most conscious of as you're making those genetic decisions? And that is what we actually use to model the ICC. So those 5 subindexes on the Holstein side, those 3 Jersey subindexes within the Jersey side, those were driven by economic dollars, and each of those traits that feed into those respective subindexes have that economic value tied to them. Thirdly, those subindexes are very unique. Because they have the subindexes that make up the whole, you can actually target selection based on those subindexes. So you can sort on a certain genetic level as a whole, but then you can actually subsort once again on those subindexes, which make it very unique from any other indexes available in the industry. Fourthly, it's a proprietary index. And why is that important, or what makes it unique? It's the fact that it's very nimble. It can quickly be changed, altered, and updated to address those genetic trends or changes in, say, economics or milk market, or if there's a new trait that comes down the line that needs to be immediately incorporated. And finally, all of the above needed to be very scientifically sound, and all of the data that feeds into the respective data points within the index is just that, very scientifically sound. That was a priority as we put together the ICC indexes, both on the Holstein and Jersey side. So just a quick reference of what kind of visibility our ICC index has gotten in the industry. Here's a quote from Don Bennett, a very prominent Holstein breeder in Florida, on his Operation North Florida Holstein. He says the ideal commercial cow index is probably the largest step forward we have seen in meeting the commercial producers' needs. So really, this was what we were after. We were looking to fill that gap for producers on that commercial level, that those modern operations that are looking to select genetics specifically for their operations and have that option when they're making those critical genetic mating. So now that you have a preference of the ideal commercial cow index, I wanted to give you a 360 view of why it's so important to select on an index in general. Well, first and foremost, we know that we live in a genomic world. Rapid acceleration of genetics is happening, and this is a good thing. Genetic progress is gaining ground. We're speeding up genetic progress every day. But that also means that these high-ranking bulls are going to move through and be available even faster in our industry. So with that in mind, we need to remember that an index is going to keep us from honing in or demanding one specific bull versus collectively keeping in mind progression through our breeding program. Secondly, we know that new traits are continually available through USDA. And with those new traits, it's important to remember not to select on one individual trait, but instead select for a combination to ensure balanced progress over time. And the easiest way to do that is to select on an index. And finally, in this genomic world that we operate in, we know that bulls are collected at a younger and younger age, which means that they have less volume. So it's even more important because of limited semen availability to once again select on an index so we have a good portfolio of bulls that we can reference and pull potential matings from. So with that in mind, we know collectively as an industry, we have the opportunity for rapid genetic progress, but an ever-changing group of bulls, a growing list of traits to consider, and of course, the uncertainty and availability of semen from specific bulls all limit the potential opportunities. So how do we build that perfect genetic strategy? So here is a couple points to keep in mind as you're building your genetic strategy. First and foremost, we need to identify key genetic goals, and hopefully those are to focus on efficiency and profitability. Secondly, it's critically important to select on multi-trait indexes that combine economically impactful yield while also balancing health. This allows you to use sires that transmit profitability and efficiency. And finally, we need to reduce or remove arbitrary thresholds on individual traits, which will in turn increase the number of sires available to us. So now that you have the framework for creating a genetic strategy, I also wanted to cover a few of the frequently asked questions that we get in the genetic world. First and foremost, is it better to select for a few specific traits in order to maximize progress? Selection on specific traits does maximize genetic progress in those traits, and that's the key here. When you remove specific trait thresholds and choose instead sires on multi-trait indexes, such as ICC, you are only selecting for bottom line profitability and efficiency, and that's where you want to end up with a genetic strategy. Another really common question is there a time when a strict cutoff level for a trait is useful? Well, this is an interesting question, and just a preference to this question is sure, there certainly can be some caveats, and having a hard and fast threshold is needed. And one instance would be sire cavities. If you have a hard calving, it can have a catastrophic impact on that individual cow. So putting a strict cutoff in for sire cavities makes sense. Another common question is how many bulls should be in a potential selection pool? And now it's important to remember not to narrow the group of bulls too much. And the reason for this is semen availability is very uncertain. As mentioned in the genomic world, all these new high quality bulls are becoming available more frequently, but also have limiting semen volume needs. So once again, don't narrow the group of bulls too much based on that. Instead, define a genetic average like an average ICC and choose a pool of bulls that meets that average. And finally, another common question is, how many bulls should I select from a pool? Genomic proven bulls have genetic reliabilities at around 70%, and therefore their evaluations will change over time. If you look at research published in the Journal of Dairy Science, you'll see that the more genomic bulls included in a gene pool equates to increased reliabilities on average for the collective group. Said another way, the more bulls, the higher reliability of the group. So with that in mind, the recommendation is to choose the number of bulls the operation can handle, balancing number of bulls and that trade-off for that increased reliability. So what are the big takeaways here? First and foremost, hopefully you were able to see that to best achieve genetic selection, you really need to make that selection on multi-trait indexes. And these indexes need to be driven by economics. This ensures genetic progress based upon those critical profitability and efficiency words. The beauty of selection based on multi-trait indexes is that it allows for balance among traits to get to that whole. For example, if selection is made on ICC, then forward genetic progress will occur regardless of individual trait fluctuations. So hopefully that provided a snapshot into the world of genetics from the Genex perspective. Now, that being said, I did want to preference here in the last few minutes an insight into how Genex fits into the industry and how Genex fits into our mother company, which is the URUS family. As you all get out into the industry and embark on careers and internships, please certainly keep Genex as well as all the companies I'm going to preference here within the URUS family in mind down the road. So here would be all of the companies that fall under the URUS umbrella. We of course have URUS headquartered in Madison, Wisconsin, And then our genetic arms within URUS would include obviously Genex, headquartered in Shawano, Wisconsin. We also have Alta that markets genetics. And then, of course, we've got SCCL, the colostrum company up in Canada. And then all of the genetics within URUS are provided by our peak arm, and that would be headquartered in Wisconsin as well. And then finally, our data-driven companies would include Valley Egg Software and Egg Source. So here would be a quick reference of what's the goal or underlying commonality among the URUS companies. So if we would really summarize, what are all the companies within URUS looking to do? It's really pretty simple. All we're trying to do is provide a sustainable future for farmers and our children. And we're doing it by all of the respective means that you'll see on the graphic in front of you. By making sure we have those elite genetics all the way down to focused education, making sure we have healthy calves and productive cows, and ultimately making sure that they are producing a product that is food safe for that end consumer. So here would be a quick synopsis of the companies that fall within the URUS family. Of course, on the genetic side, you have Genex as well as Alta, and these would be companies looking at productive cows, creating those cows, providing that elite genetics and breeding programs and consultancy to those modern operations in the industry. Now, the fuel behind the genetic arm would be peak. Peak would be providing the elite genetics themselves. They are the source of all of the genetics that is fed into the URUS family. They would house all of the female programs as well as the production side of things. This would be one of the largest, if not the largest, production and female genetic programs in the world. Maybe not as familiar to some, but we within URUS also have the sister company SCCL. So this would be a colostrum-based company that is based out of Canada. Their focus is really durable calves, providing that colostrum product to the market, and really that consultancy and expertise at that calf level. And Egg Source would be a data-driven company within URUS as well. So their main focus would be milk testing and quality control, providing that safe product to our consumers. And maybe you aren't aware, but another facet of Egg Source is actually healthy soil. We do a lot of business within Egg Source with soil testing and soil management. Another very data-driven company within the URUS family would be Valley Egg Software, VAS. So they're really focusing on connecting farm management to the data. So they have a data management system very familiar to all those in the industry through COM 305, but they're looking to really provide that next level of data connection to really make that efficiency happen at the farm level. And finally, we would be remiss to not mention a really unique opportunity to all of you as students, and that would be dairylearning.com. It is actually a progressive dairy knowledge hub that is housed within the URUS companies. Really, this website is a focused education modules that you can log on and utilize, really educating farmers on how to feed the world. So hopefully that provided a little synopsis of what encompasses the URUS company and the URUS family. Ultimately, within all of those respective companies, we're looking to provide that global development and sustainability for dairy and beef producers. So to wrap up, I just wanted to put in front of you really the mission statement of URUS, and it's really a family of businesses that is at the heart of the global dairy and beef industry. We are leaders with relentless dedication to innovation, excellence, partnership, and growth. Hopefully, this provided an insight to all of you as college students as you embark on your careers. To keep us in mind, we have an array of different companies available, and within each of those companies, obviously, a ton of opportunities for different career paths. So, thank you for your time. I sure appreciated sharing with you a glimpse into the genetic world, and hopefully it was helpful to give you a snippet of what we deal with on the genetic side every day. I did throw in my contact information. Feel free to reach out if you need anything at all or as you're pursuing careers within your respective areas of expertise.